Michael Boyle's StrengthCoach.com presents the Strength Coach Podcast, brought to you by Perform Better, the experts in functional training and rehabilitation. PerformBetter.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 236 of the Strength Coach Podcast, the official podcast of Michael Boyle's StrengthCoach.com, the world's best source for strength and conditioning information. Brought to you by Perform Better, the experts in functional training and rehabilitation. PerformBetter.com. All right, I'm your host, Anthony Renna, and the show notes are located at my site, ContinueFit.com. I got my other podcast, Stopping Gimme 20, as well as Strength Coach TV, as well as other resources. All right, today for the StrengthCoach.com Coach's Corner, I spoke to Coach Boyle about a really interesting thread on eccentric deceleration. We had a thread where a dad, who actually was a doctor, was asking questions about his son's training, so it got interesting. And I talked to Coach Boyle there was a question about facility owners visiting your gym and what to do if they're in the same area. So that's coming up from Coach Boyle in a little while. For the Results Fitness University Business of Fitness segment, Rachel Cosgrove starts a three-part series on making money in your business. Part one is adding more clients. So always great stuff from the Cosgroves. For the Functional Movement System segment, Gray Cook continues his series on the functional capacity screen. Today is part 5. For the Train Heroic data-driven coaching segment, Adam Doughty talks to the co-founder, Josh Sucher, about program delivery. A funny story coming up from Josh in a little bit. And we got a new sponsor, MariGold Foods. They've been actually sponsoring Strength Coach TV for about 6 months now, and they're going to partner with me here on the podcast. So it's going to be the MariGold Bars, Hit the Gym with the Strength Coach segment. And today I got Bill Parisi on. Bill is the founder of Parisi Speed Schools. And this is actually an interview I did a few months back with Bill for my book on success in the fitness industry. And I wanted to get Bill on to talk about his journey to success. He's one of the most successful strength coaches and entrepreneurs in our business. So great guy, and it's a great chat with Bill. Lots of things to get to, so let's get on the phone with Coach Boyle. All right, now it's time for the StrengthCoach.com Coach's Corner with Coach Boyle. StrengthCoach.com, the world's best source for strength and conditioning information. You can try StrengthCoach.com out for 3 days. Just $1, you have access to all the articles, videos, and programs, as well as the best forum on the net. It's the only place to have full access to Coach Boyle. He's on every day. Check it out at StrengthCoach.com. Coach, how you doing?
I am doing great, Ian. How are you?
All right, hanging in there. August 1st. Wow, crazy.
I know, it's unbelievable. It's going too fast.
Older you get, man. The older you get. Jeez. So, Coach, I thought this was interesting. Michael Johnson had posted, he was reading the comments on the O-lifts and the weighted jumps. And I think you were the one who were talking about, why you like the clean so much. And you were talking about having, especially for hockey players, having this, this eccentric deceleration, kind of being able to catch the force. And he felt like in skiing, he wanted to do like a lot of, you constantly have to absorb all these different forces. So he was working with some stuff, doing like split squats with a kettlebell in one hand, and switching it. And then same thing with like a sledgehammer. I like the idea. I know, like you, I would certainly be afraid of having people kind of in a split squat position go down and kind of come up and switch it at the top, like as the kettlebell is passing over their thigh, and then, switching. Someone's going to drop that. But I like the idea of this. Talk to me about this, about your thoughts on this process.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I watched it and I was like, oh, okay, that's I think what I really thought about was sometimes you look and think, hey, that's pretty specific for skiing. When you have that kind of, I'm going to be in a crouch position, but I'm going to be bouncing up and down. And I think skiing, there's a whole different eccentric component than there is. And it made me think, because you always get those people who, I train rowers, or I train skiers, or I train tennis players. And I'm always like, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. And then every once in a while you see something and you're like, that's pretty good. That might matter. That might be sort of different enough to warrant doing something a little bit off the board. And I think it was kind of like the 1.25 rep idea. People will do that sometimes where they'll do like a full rep and then a quarter rep and a full rep, a quarter rep, which is similar. But I think this idea of sort of that eccentric, kind of switching from side to side makes it, I think I guess I just look at it and think, yeah, that's a pretty good specific exercise. But like I said, I don't know if it's something that I would do, but it was a little bit intriguing, made me think a little bit.
Yeah, I think I actually like the sledgehammer idea a little bit, but I felt like that was a little bit safer, where he had the sledgehammer and the heavy side was on the right side, and he would squat, and then as he's coming up, he would switch and absorb the force on the other side. That certainly seemed a lot safer. And I was thinking about, what are those, what's that tool you're using a lot right now?
Lever bell. I was thinking the same thing, that the lever bell is really it's exactly like the sledgehammer. It's just you've got, instead of buying a bunch of sledgehammers, I almost thought of that and said, I don't want to look like I'm just trying to drive the conversation towards lever bells, but that was exactly what I thought of when I started too.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I thought there was another really interesting one by a doctor, Tyler Kirby, and I found that this one interesting because I think, the strength coach that he's working with seems to be like, know nothing, and the doctor almost seems to know too much, right? Dr. Kirby here, because it's his son. He's a competitive hockey player. I think he asked a bunch of questions, which you asked a bunch of questions. The kid has some patellofemoral syndrome, and he's, obviously playing year round, and he's starting to do some different exercises. The doctor was talking about improving VMO strength and hamstring strength. And like I said, almost like, okay, Dad, a little too much. But he's really working in one sport at this point. He's 15 years old. What were your thoughts on this whole idea?
I would basically agree with you in terms of it was very interesting. And as I'm looking and thinking, wow, because one of the things I like to say all the time is that everybody sort of gets stuck in this parent role, and sometimes they have another role that overlaps with that, where you do know too much. I felt that way sometimes with Michaela with hockey, where I almost know a little bit too much, and it's not good in the sense of I know enough to maybe be dangerous. And I feel like this is a very similar kind of situation where he knows that it's not exactly what he wants, but he also is in this situation of trying to now, and I sympathize with him. He's trying to have this relationship with his 15-year-old son, who he even said, he doesn't listen to me very well, which is also very typical of the kids at that age bracket. And he's not getting maybe the best of training. And you think sometimes, I just think about, you go to these camps where they have him on the ice twice a day. And then a lot of times there's sort of a plyo or an off ice session where somebody's got him out in the parking lot doing, broad jumps or something ridiculous. And I can always remember looking at some of this stuff. I used to, with Michaela, would go to camp. I'd be like, don't go to the off ice.
Yeah.
We're just going to leave, because I wouldn't want her there with some, and it goes back to the whole idea. You've got some hockey coach who's thinking about improving skating speed. We should do plyos, and there's no progression. You've got kids that you've only got for a week. And then what do you end up with? You end up with a kid with a sore knee. So it was pretty, I guess, pretty typical of exactly what you thought would occur.
Yeah. What's interesting, I'm still training a young, hockey player as well, about that age. And I struggle with the same thing with the summer camp. And then, but they're pretty smart about it. They do skip that conditioning session because they're with me a couple times a week and on their own once a week. But I thought it was interesting. You asked about 10 questions. Guy answered them all. But to be honest with you, I think we could almost figure it out when you asked him, what else does he do besides skate? He plays lacrosse, but he just started a weight training program a month or so ago. I mean, it kind of just stuck out to me. It seems like, okay, let's go there first. Let's try to, get him, maybe getting him stronger is going to be, I try to get, Dante to shut it down. This summer was the first time I was able to be successful with that. They shut hockey down for a while, and we were really able to work on some strength that I think is going to really help him this year. But what were your thoughts on his answers?
Well, I had kind of the opposite sensation too, in one way. Okay, just started a strength training program. Maybe that's a part of the causative factor, because again, when you look at his response to the strength training program, I don't think it's a lot that that he agrees with, front squats, hand cleans, power cleans, deadlifts. And again, not terrible. Tried to get him a rear foot elevated split squat, but because of, he's got some pain, and I'm not a big fan of the VMO strengthening thing, and that's why one of the things as I'm fielding this question, I'm thinking, all right, I don't want to drive somebody off the forum who's asking me a good question and be a little too negative. So it was more like, okay, let's see if we can kind of pick up on a couple of the big things here and say, and obviously I went right back to it and you posted it. Have you read Does It Hurt? Because again, is he rolling and stretching? And the dad had said, I don't think he does a good enough job of rolling and stretching and warming up. And again, that's really typical of that age group in terms of they don't want to do the little stuff. They just want to get right to the big stuff. So all of these things become part of it. And I said in my answer, did the onset match up with the camp and the 2-a-days at the camp? And so I guess for me, it was like, and I'm hoping that the dad, because I just am looking at it right now, the dad has not come back on again. I'm hoping I can get kind of one more batch of information, and then that'll let me maybe drill down a little bit deeper into what might be our potential cause here. Because again, I had one of my guys come back from being from a week off with a sore knee. And it's the same thing. Did you do anything different? No, I didn't do anything different. I just did the workout while I was gone. And then he said, well, actually, they didn't have the Airdyne or assault bike. So I rode a spin bike and I really cranked the tension down and just rode it for 15 minutes with the tension really high. I was like, that might have been enough to piss off your knee. So I think there's always this, and particularly with a doctor, the history process. Like, okay, what's the history here? Let's get a really thorough history and see if something pops for us where we look and think, okay, now I've got a really good thought about where our problem might be.
Yeah, I always like to say there's a lot of nails in that coffin, so you got to kind of really dig deep. And I thought it was interesting what you just said about the bike, too. Another thing, what I was going to say is, yeah, the program might look okay on paper, but we don't know how well he's being coached as well through some of these things. Same thing like when you said on the bike, I see this all the time. I see people get on a bike and the seat's too low. And that is a knee injury waiting to happen. People don't realize it, but it's the worst thing for your knees is not really being fit the right way. You guys obviously have a lot of experience with the bikes. It's a big, important part of what you're doing. So you're looking at that, but there could be a chance that they're not looking at that either.
Right. That's what I mean. So I guess that's what I think, well, as we go along, I'm hoping that today we get an answer and we kind of get another layer to peel back the onion a little bit here as we look.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, I want to finish up. Somebody had asked about what's the policy regarding other facility owners coming into your gym. And basically, I guess they were worried about or feeling like, okay, it's somebody from the same area. And I just felt like, look, I answered it and said, I don't really feel like bring them all in. Who cares? Even if they're trying to steal your stuff, they can't steal your personality. They can't replicate your specific culture. I said they can't steal your full program design. And would that even matter? Coach Boyle puts his programs out there for the world to see. And you don't need to go to MBSC to see your program design. No one's going to steal your goblet squat cues. I just feel like it can only help make another connection. And like I said, when I was in the bar business, I used to say, no one could steal my bartenders, but I can lose them. So if I don't create an environment where people want to stay, and I feel like the same way in business with clients and employees, you can't steal them from me. But I can lose them if I'm a jerk or I treat them unfairly or I don't pay attention to them. What are your thoughts on having other local gyms come to, visit you?
Yeah, I guess it would depend. I would agree with you probably in most of the cases, and I might disagree if it was someone who was directly trying to do the same thing that we were doing and trying to compete with us. Because I might look at that and think, okay, I really don't want to help somebody who's going to at least try to take away business from us. But in general, I think you have to look and say, is that really what's happening? Is it another person? Because there are maybe, we might have one or two competitors like that are local enough where someone would be making a choice of, I can go to Boyle's or go to this place. And I might be a little less welcoming to that person, whereas someone who's got more of a personal training studio, or someone who's maybe 15 miles away. Because if you look at some of the stats, I think the stats are basically like 5-mile radius is where the vast majority of your people are coming from. So I guess I might be somewhere in the middle on that, in terms of, we're very, very much open door policy. We always have guests. We always have people in. But I might be inclined to draw that line a little more strictly if it was someone who was really close by. But we have people, again, with seminars and things, we can't even control that. Somebody just signs up and shows up. And I realized there was a woman that was at one of the seminars. She was in Woburn. I mean, she's within 1.5 miles of us, and they're doing sports performance. And it was like, okay, they're here, they're seeing the facility, they're seeing what we're doing. I guess I'm not afraid of it, but I also don't look at it and think that I'm gonna encourage it either.
Yeah. I guess if you knew for a fact that they were out there kind of saying, well, Boyle sucks, or, Renna's sucks, and oh, we're so much better, and and then they're coming and trying to go visit you.
Because we're the comparison for everybody else. I listened to one of Kevin Larrabee's Fitcasts the other day, and there was a guy who was talking about that and about business. But one of the things he said that was really interesting, he said, nobody ever test drives a Lamborghini. He said, you go in there and you decide what color you want and you buy it. He said, so you're not, when you're selling that, you're selling something different than someone who might go and say, oh, I'm going to drive a Ford and I'm going to drive a Toyota and I'm going to do this. He said, somebody that wants the best does their research and knows what it is and knows exactly where to go get it. And I thought, I like that thought process a little bit.
Yeah. Also, this comes back to another conversation you and I were having when I was up, when we were on our way to Plum Island, and we stopped for refreshments, I think lemonade. And we were talking about, it is different in sports performance a lot of times, where guys will travel, especially like the hockey guys, or if there's like baseball guys who know that they have cages and a gym, and hockey guys that know they have a rink and a place to work out. Matty Nichols got the same situation. He's got the the rink, and then he's got the place to work out. So I think that number, that 5-mile radius, is kind of changes for sports performance, right?
I think it does change a little bit for sports performance, but what we found it changes to a degree, and it depends on the level of convenience, because we definitely have people that are South Shore of Boston who just don't want to drive through Boston, even though they may really want to come and train with us, and they're going to elect to train with somebody south of Boston because of the traffic. So I think some of that has to do too with where you are geographically and how bad your traffic situation is. So I'm assuming there's people, and it's probably just the big cities. New York City probably gets affected by that. Chicago does. We do to some degree, because Boston traffic is so bad. Mm-hmm. So I think, again, in general, yes, that would be true. But, we get even some guys who come out of Boston, and it's not as bad because they're reverse commuting. They're going both ways against the traffic, but someone who has to really fight it. But you will get some people that are really committed who are making a fairly long drive. I think we've probably got a couple guys who are driving 35, 40 minutes to get to us this summer.
Yeah, nice. All right, good stuff, Coach. Well, that's going to do it for today. And enjoy the rest of the week on Plum Island. We'll talk to you next time.
I will. Thank you, Anthony. I will talk to you next time. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, right now, Perform Better has that huge summer sale, 40% off many items, sleds, dumbbells, kettlebells, foam rollers, so many of their best stuff. Don't forget Long Beach Summit, still tickets available August 17th to 19th next week. You can check it out at performbetter.com for all their products and info on their educational seminars.
In this section, I'd like to investigate power, but before you start spurting out, why aren't you doing vertical leap? I'd like to tell you that standing long jump is more historically prevalent and correct for a general base. If you're in a vertical sport, that will be an additional type of jumping we look at. But the first jumps kids do are climbing onto stuff and jumping off. That's right, NSCA. They start with their eccentrics and loading first. They start with power negatives, and then they develop the capacity to coordinate it. So gravity is instructional, because if you can jump and land without a fall, then you're already writing the jumping sequence backward. The timing of the lumbopelvic rhythm, the hip firing, the upper body contribution will all work together. Once it does, we have this standing long jump as a gold standard, not all the way back to the beginnings of West Point, but all the way up through modern physical education. We just don't know what to do with the test. Well, let me tell you what FMS did with the test. We basically said, all right, give me a standing long jump. And I go right back to Vern Gambetta, and even though he doesn't like me very much, I think the functional movement screen can actually prove many of the things he was talking about. The difference is he only had one way to do it, which was his program. I know lots of people can gain function, but they better damn well lay a baseline and prove it and not just talk about it. Great functional ideas. One of the things Vern Gambetta said is if a kid can't do a standing long jump, their body height, the length of their body height, plyometrics at a high level, such as box jumps or stuff like that, is probably going to be too steep a slope. Get your phonics down, read War and Peace later. That's all he's saying. So what do? Little hopping, skipping, jumping, jump rope, a lot of that stuff, and all of a sudden it fixes itself and the kid is above the cut. I think setting those cut points are good. We need to have a test where we can adjust those cut points for different environments and different age groups, but the test shouldn't change. This way we can follow somebody's conditioning across their lifespan. And on top of that, if they're a tennis player now, we do tennis-specific testing. But if they migrate into mogul skiing later on, we can do some tests on top of the general base that would do that. When we get the standing long jump, I want to dissect that thing down because there's some questions we've got. Okay, standing long jump, put that one in the hole. Okay, you jumped your body height plus 15%. Respectable thing. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to disadvantage you by taking that upper body preload out. Put your hands on your hips and jump. We already know what reduction in your max upper body contribution jump we should see if you take your arms out of it. And if we take your arms out of it and your jump is the same, we realize you have no upper body contribution. If we take your arms out of it and it cuts your jump in half, we realize that you were jumping too much with your arms or not coordinating the effort. Now, what's the implication here? Is somebody who doesn't know how to coordinate their upper and lower body in something as primal as a jump, do they really need to be throwing a fastball or serving a tennis ball or hitting a golf ball today? Or do we need to spend about 3 days just sequencing that jump so they make a primal connection between upper body contribution to lower body power and vice versa? Get that connection, get that nice, tight, quick connection in a primal activity like a jump, transfer that to a specific activity like a throw, kick, or punch. Can you see that? The ability of making the arms and legs work together as a match set in something as primal as a standing long jump lays the network and groundwork for reciprocal contribution of step with the left foot, throw with the right arm. It's all in there, but it's got to be connected in a primal way first. Well, Gray, what about asymmetry? I'm glad you asked. After we've done an arms in and arms out standing long jump, we like to see you get your arms back, but now we take one leg out of it. We ask you to jump off one leg, but right now I'm not worried about your energy storing, only your power expression. So if you simply jump, I don't mind if you land on two. It elevates safety and elevates confidence and gets me the best effort. You're not focusing on your landing, you're simply focusing on your jump. And if we see a huge difference in your left and right jump, leg to leg, then we've got an asymmetry. The same thing Mike Boyle has always said about single limb training. Let's simply just take it from mobility to strength to power, okay? But what are we doing? We're doing the movement screen. We've got a motor control screen. We've got a carry screen. If either of those two screens are deficient, then why are you asking me why there's a power problem? If somebody flunks every other test in the movement screen up to the squat, don't ask me why they can't squat. every pattern in the movement screen from leg raise to lunge is basically building you the overhead deep squat. So the only time you can ever ask me about your squat is if you got 2s on everything and 1 on the squat, or 3s on everything and a 2 on the squat. And my answer in both cases is you got a motor control problem and something's not syncing. And it's got a lot more to do with the way you coordinate your squat than the strength that you possess at any range in the squat. Next, we're going to cover the icing on the cake, the cherry on top of the sundae, energy storing.
It's Rachel Cosgrove here with the Business of Fitness segment with Results Fitness University. And today I want to talk about making money in your business. So earning more and worrying less. How's that sound? I think a lot of us end up worrying about money. And so I want to make it real simple for you. I want to give you the 3 ways to make money in your business. There's actually only 3 ways, surprisingly. You might think that there was a lot more, but there's only 3 ways. So when you boil it down to these 3 ways to make money in your business, it really does simplify things. So if you have been worrying about needing to make extra money, how do I do it? Well, you're going to boil it down to one of these 3 things. So the first one is to add more clients. The second one is to get clients to spend more per transaction. And the third one is to get clients to spend more often. And so today we're going to dive into adding more clients. The next segment, I'm going to dive into the next one, and then the following one, we'll do this as a series. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about adding more clients and really how can we do that, and how can that, how can we add revenue if if that's something that you need to do. So adding more clients, obviously we can't talk about adding more clients without talking about marketing. And the key to marketing is knowing who your ideal client is. So in order to add more clients, we got to know who that person is. Down to the specifics of, how old are they? Do they have kids? What do they do on the weekends? What clothing stores do they shop at? What restaurants do they hang out at? Everything about them, so that you can really get into their head, because us as fitness professionals are not the same as our clients. We just are not the same. I know we think, we get our clients, but you have to take a moment to really try to put yourself in your client's shoes. For example, all of us get to wear sweats to work every day. We're very different. When we go check into a hotel, first thing we do is go check out the gym. That's not typical. That's not our typical client. And so really trying to put yourself into your client's shoes, getting to know who that target market is, so that you can start to create a message that's going to resonate with them. And the easiest way to do this is to talk to some of the target people that you want to get in front of. And so really get to know who that target market is. I know we've talked on marketing in the past on other segments, but this is just a reminder that if you haven't in a while really dove into specifically who your target market is, this is a check-in to go ahead and do that. And like I said, the best way to do it, if you have some of your clients who you just love training, who are the people you want more of, ask them if you can sit down with them and interview them and ask them the questions. Where were they when they hired you? What was going through their head? What kinds of things were they thinking? And they might bring up words like, I was frustrated, and I felt tired, and I wanted to keep up with my kids. And so these are all perfect words. You get some of your best marketing copyright material from your clients. So interview them, get some, good, ideas of where that next client might be at, what they might be thinking, and how you could enter that conversation in their head to then be able to resonate with them and speak to them and get them to move toward taking action to become your next client. And that's going to be one of the easiest ways to add more clients. And then one more thing I want to touch on when we talk about adding more clients is when we do get these new clients coming through the door and we do get our marketing in place, we really want to make sure that we are setting them up from the beginning on, for us, one of the keys to our business has been having an annual commitment. So getting them set up so that they are committed to you for the longer term, at least 3 months, 6 months, but ideally 12 months, so that you can go ahead, you can plan out your training programs, you can plan out your business. And so when you add more clients, not only are you adding, one client for maybe a package of 10, you're actually adding them for the next year, so that you're adding to your revenue month after month after month. And then that revenue will start to grow month after month. So really getting that guaranteed income each month. So all that takes is, as you do bring in these new clients, you want to go ahead and ask them, if they can, number one, you can keep your current clients how they are, the ones who you have set up. But then when you bring those new clients in, go ahead and get them on an annual contract, ask them to commit for the year. That most, it's really going to change your business. It's going to help you to sleep at night. It's going to help you to run your business more smoothly and really make it much easier. So keep those things in mind as you're adding more clients. That's number one on the list of 3 things to add more revenue to your business and to start earning more and worrying less. So take action on that, get some more clients through the door, and we will jump to the next topic next week. So I'll talk to you guys on the next segment of the podcast. If you want to check out more information on us and our next events coming up, check out resultsfitnessuniversity.com, and I'll see you guys next time.
Welcome to the Train Heroic Data-Driven Coaching segment. This is Adam.
And this is Josh Sucher.
Today we're going to talk about program delivery and how that's changed over time. So Josh, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. My name is Josh Sucher. I'm one of the co-founders at Train Heroic, and I'm excited to do this little segment with you, Adam.
Cool, man. So Josh was actually an athlete. So Josh played football at San Diego, fullback, coached by Jim Harbaugh there. And I understand you had a really funny experience with summer workout manuals, Josh. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I think so. When we look at program delivery, my first experience actually getting a training program was going into college. So I was a freshman going into the University of San Diego, and this is 2005. And I got a summer manual like every other kid in school.
Right.
And within the summer manual, there was position-specific programming, and I was never before introduced to anything like that. So in high school, our coach threw some using just dry erase board, threw some instruction up on the board, and we would do it. And now going into college, we had the strength coach who's now at Stanford. His name's Shannon Turley, and he's one of the better strength coaches in the industry. And Shannon, have you heard of Adam? Have you heard of Shannon?
No, I don't know him, no.
So he wins strength coach of the year. At least he's up for the running or winning it each year at Stanford.
Right, cool,
he's had something like 0 non-contact injuries over the course of like 3 seasons with 500 athletes at Stanford. So
that's impressive, yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic, and he introduced us to a whole bunch of things. But initially, he sent these manuals, and the manuals had position-specific programming. So if you were a middle body, which I was, which was a fullback, you would do certain things slightly different. Mm-hmm. If you were a lineman and you were a skill guy, you would do things different. So anyways, I remember there was a specific movement, DB lunges, and the DB lunges were part of the accessory work. Well, I was a fullback, an FB, not a DB. So I literally did not do DB lunges, and I had never seen that written before.
You're supposed to carry the defensive backs, Josh.
Exactly. So I get to school, and I see DB lunges in our actual manual for that day, and they're dumbbell lunges. And I had this, I didn't tell a soul until maybe a year ago about this, when I'm telling coaches on why delivering programs through software like Train Heroic can help by clarifying things. I just thought it was hilarious.
Right, because you've got all the instructions and everything, but you also have videos, right? So like it would have kind of demystified that. It's like, oh, it's a dumbbell. I get that. So the other thing is that, the environment between high school and college, those two kind of training environments are very different. So tell us about that too, Josh.
Yeah. One thing that sticks out in my mind, just the difference between what we saw in college and what we saw at the high school ranks, was just this element of competition actually in the weight room. Mm-hmm. And so Shannon would have, and that's Coach Turley's first name, Shannon would set up these competitions, whether they were doing core exercises, how many reps can you get, doing shrugs, how high up the ladder and dumbbells you can get. But that element of competition was something that we saw for the first time in college, and we really tried to embed that in our delivery system.
Right. So in Train Heroic, we have leaderboards that everybody can see what everybody's logged, and you can compete on that, right?
Exactly.
That's awesome. Hey, that's going to do it for us today. Go to trainheroic.com to start your 14-day free trial. And when you're talking to one of our representatives, be sure to tell them the Strength Coach Podcast sent you for 10% off a year of the Elite or Pro Edition.
All right, now it's time for the MariGold Bars. Hit the gym with the Strength Coach segment. Grass-fed protein, gluten-free, organic ingredients, non-GMO, no preservatives. You actually have to keep them in the fridge. Low sugar, and they taste amazing. These bars are good. Check them out at MariGoldBars.com. Use the code StrengthCoach10 to get $10 off your first order. All right, today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm going to give you guys a preview of my upcoming book, success in the fitness industry. It was 50 interviews with 50 of the top fitness professionals. And I wanted to get on Bill Parisi's interview today. Bill Parisi is the founder of Parisi Speed School, one of the most successful strength coaches and entrepreneurs in our industry. He was also very successful as an athlete. So wanted to get him on and just talk about his journey towards success. So Bill, thanks for doing this.
Thanks. No, my pleasure, and thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. I mean, I just love. I've seen you speak before, Perform Better, and the story of the having $500, starting out with $500. That's what I loved about it. I was excited when I had you on the list because I said, a lot of people want to give excuse. Well, I don't have the money. Well, you don't always need the money, or I don't have the time. Yeah, you got it. You just got to work hard, and you'll do it. You'll push. You'll move. But Bill, you've been successful in a few different things. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, as an athlete, and more. How do you define success?
That's a great question, and the success is pretty simple, and I take it from my dad, really. My dad never, made a lot of money. Worked in a utility company, and the maintenance department, and worked 3 jobs. My dad is very, very happy because he has great friends. He's got a great family, and he's the most successful guy I know. So success is really about the relationships you have and just enjoying what you have, being grateful for what you have and being fulfilled. That doesn't mean you don't reach for higher things, because I broke the mold a little bit in my family. I was the only one to go to college. I was the only one to kind of come outside the box. But ultimately, it's all about relationships. I know that's cliche to say. And, listen, does money make you happy? No, money doesn't make you happy. Money makes you a little more comfortable. Money makes life a little more comfortable. But, at the end of the day, success is really about relationships, being happy, and being grateful for what you have. Not to say you can't reach for higher things. That's what keeps people going. A lot of people go, not everybody. My dad, he never reached to make a lot of money. He's happy with what he has. That makes him successful. Now, if he wasn't happy with what he had, and he was unhappy, and he didn't want to reach for higher things, then that's not successful, right? I mean, be happy with what you have, and if you're not happy, go reach for higher things. Give it what you got. And you know what? If you really put your mind to it and you figure out the right strategies, you're going to get an outcome. And it might not be the outcome you want, but you're going to get an outcome, and that's when you got to adjust and move forward.
I love it. Now, because it was, you got this lesson from your dad. Sometimes when we're younger, we don't always see these things, right? It takes a while to understand. Now, you had, again, success as a young man. You went to Iona. You were a Division I national All-American in track and field, Olympic trials for the javelin. So you were already successful there. When did you start feeling like you were, I'm becoming successful, or I am successful because of the things? When was that realization?
It's a good question, and I know this might sound a little odd. I've never really realized it, meaning I never look at myself as successful. I don't sit back and say I'm successful. I just saying, what else do we need to do to get better? I think as soon as you start to sit back and enjoy, and you take your foot off the gas, you lose a step. That doesn't mean I haven't enjoyed some of the fruits of my labor, but I look at everyone around me as a part of this success. So this is not me. This is an organization. This is an affiliation. This is a group of people. My name's on the building because someone told me back in 1992 when I was thinking about this, use your name. People like a story. And, I not only started with $500, it was a $500 van, but I was $50,000 in debt, living in my parents' basement at 25 years old. So, it was different. But, when you come from humble beginnings, you kind of value what you have and you keep pressing.
Yeah, I love that. It's so true, because you could see the work ethic that you have when, just, again, 90 facilities, the franchising, the big, you have a lot going on. You're speaking all the time. it's really important to kind of make sure that you, for everybody out there that understands that it's part of a journey. And what we found is with so many people that are coming on here is that they are reluctant. They don't feel like they're a success because they're striving. They're always striving for more. And again, like you said, not that they're not grateful, but they're still striving for more, to do more, to help more people, etc. So that's what I want to know next, though, is what is it that you strive for? What's that from a business perspective, what are you trying to do with your message? What gets you out of bed in the morning?
Really getting people to see the light and what this industry is all about, getting people to understand we're not in the fitness business. We're not in the performance training business. We're not in the speed training business. We're truly in the inspiration business. We're in the business of getting people to understand what it means to really empower a kid. So, our sweet spot, my focus is youth from 7 to 18 is really where we spend the majority of our energy and focus and business development systems and whatnot. And it's really empowering kids, giving them the most important product on the planet, to higher self-esteem. We do that through fitness, and we do that through performance, and getting coaches to see that and getting coaches to understand that. Content is important. Training protocols are important. And you can get access to that. That's not hard. You can go to a lot of education. We've got great education. We make it simple. We make it user-friendly, but it's how that education is delivered. It's how to not only just cue an athlete, but how to truly build a relationship with an athlete, their parent, their coach. And how do you not only get that personal satisfaction out of that, but how is that, aid to grow your business? How do you take that and develop that and monetize that in a way that you're getting paid a fair market value, but you're also getting paid emotionally from that experience?
I love that. Fair market value plus emotionally. Beautiful. Bill, obviously, that piece of it is super important. Have you also, over the years, because so many great coaches, you've mentored so many great coaches, you inspire so many fitness professionals through your speaking. Has that also been something that was kind of a surprise, or that you were like the mentoring of coaches as well?
Yeah, it's great. It's kind of like having kids. It's interesting. You have, guys that come through the system over the years, guys like, Martin Rooney or Joe DeFranco that have been here for years and went off to do different things. And just, other guys that got on to be coaches in the NFL, strength coaches, or college, Division I college head strength coaches. It's been great to be able to provide a platform. And I take a lot of pride in that. And, as I get older now, I really realize, we are a platform in a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. I mean, my organization, what I do, we provide a platform when people come and they work with us and they get some experience with us, whether it be 2, 4, 5, 6 years. They go on, there's an opportunity for them to go on and do big things. And I take pride in that. And, I always, keep good relationships with people and stay in contact with people. And, this is a small industry in one way. It's a big industry in one way, but it's a small industry where a lot of people, we all know each other. And it's always important to keep good relationships because we're in this together as an industry, right? We want to gain more respect as an industry, and we've got to learn to work with one another more strategically. And I know we're, to a degree, we're competitors and we compete, but there's enough opportunity out there with more water in the sea. All boats float higher. And, there's a lot of kids out there, a lot of parents out there. We have 300 million people in this country and about 19% work out. So, we need to make a bigger dent in that. We need to, leverage each other more.
So true. Rising tides raise all ships, right? You're right. We need to do more of that. We probably all agree on 97% of this stuff. And then, people argue about 3%, which is ridiculous. So,
Yep.
Now, Bill, with that responsibility in your hand with so many young people, so many young coaches. Let's move over to some of the habits and that you try to instill. Let's just start out with your morning routine. Are you an early riser, and is there anything specific that you do in the morning that you make sure that sets up your day?
Yeah, I mean, every time I first get up and go through your normal routine, I'll go through my McGill Big Three. And really, do some basic myofascial work and just get into a routine where I kind of open up my body a little bit in the morning, kind of decompress from the night's sleep. And then I'll typically, I'll be with the kids, and I'm usually up somewhere between 5:30 and 6 with the kids a little bit in the morning. And then from there, I'll go and get some emails done and get some quiet work done early before the day gets busy. And then I typically do my workout sometime in mid-afternoon, somewhere between typically 12 and 3. I'll just take an afternoon break and go through an active dynamic warm-up, which is, we kind of consider our warm-up a workout for most. And then from there, I'll do that 3-4 days a week and then hit the weights 2-3 days a week. But I'll do different types of resistance training throughout the day. And then I'll do some speed work on some of my other days. On the weekend, I actually will jump in with my kids. I train my kids a little bit, and I'll jump in and do a session with them. So I really practice what I preach, get through the movements, still do the movements, understand the movements. I think that's a big part. I think as coaches, we need to get into the trenches, and we need to do what we're going to teach. If you're going to teach speed, well, you need to do speed. You need to understand. You need to know how to perform the drills. That's where, we as an organization, everyone goes through our hands-on live training. You got to go through the live training. So important. But then, in the afternoon after the workouts, that's where I'll typically have my meetings or like to do more of my calls in the afternoons. So the morning time is just kind of getting all the paperwork done, the emails done, some of the research done, that I'll need to do, try to keep it pretty open. And then the afternoon, I'll put in the calls. I'll put in the meetings.
Absolutely. Good stuff. You still throw the javelin every once in a while?
It's a great question. I was thinking about getting back into it. Every time a parent, someone local might ask me, hey, can you work with my kid? And obviously I just do it. I don't even charge for it. I just do it for the love. And I'll let a couple fly just to kind of show the kid, who I'm coaching. It might be a high school kid or something that, on a two-step, I still got it,
There you go. Nice. Bill, what are some of the habits that you feel like that have attributed to your success as well? Obviously, you're pretty disciplined, and that you're trying to instill in young athletes, young coaches.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the habit of routine, having a routine and knowing your routine. I mean, science has shown, having a set routine really helps condition, your mind and your daily tasks to be effective and to be consistent. But really one of the most important habits I have is, I like to teach people is learn to engage, learn to meet people, not just through email. I mean, at conferences, at seminars, network. Your network is directly related to your net worth. One success strategy, or one of the biggest success strategy, is just simply network and try to help as many people as you can with making connections or trying to connect people to enhance their business. And, I've done that my whole career, meeting different people and seeing where we can make connections and help one another. And it's never failed me. One of the, things that's come out of that, I probably have too much opportunity. And I think, a lot of people, more people can say that now. There's so much opportunity with the internet and, new businesses you can start or things you can do. It's kind of exploded and, with the advent of the internet. So you got to be careful because you can lose focus and spin your wheels and have a lot of non-starts, or you start something and you stop it. You got to be careful of that.
Yeah, so true. You got to learn to say no to sometimes to some good opportunities, especially with what you're preaching, because if you take too many things, some of those relationships are going to suffer that you want to keep, right? That the other relationships are going to suffer. So it's just something that you're right, you do got to guard it. Bill, I don't want to get in, you and I are the same age, and I don't want to get into a millennial discussion, but have you found it to be a little bit harder now because of like texting and like trying to get these people to understand the value of relationships?
Yeah, and there's no doubt that there's more introverts out there than ever in terms of, their ability to really engage and inspire and motivate. I mean, there are some gems out there for sure, and you got to find them in terms of getting them on the floor and getting them engaged in your business. But yeah, no, the social skills are definitely lacking compared to what I've experienced in the past. But a lot of it has to do, with their history and their upbringing. But I believe you can modify behavior, and that comes, with your training and with your culture of your facility. It's funny, a funny story. When I actually first opened back in 1993, I hired my sister after about 6 months, and she was quiet. She didn't talk much, and she had a personality that people thought she had a little bit of an attitude, and I stuck her behind the front desk, and I just continued to work her and work her and work her, and she modified her behavior. She changed, and if you have the right environment, the right culture, you're going to bring people out of their shell, and they're going to realize, hey, it's kind of fun to be outgoing. It's kind of fun, and it all comes with self-confidence. When you think about someone who's, more of an introvert, or in our business, you want to be successful, you got to be outgoing. You got to be engaging, and you might not have that personality, or you might not have that behavioral trait right now, but you can learn it. Behaviors can be learned. Now, can you completely change your personality and change who you are? No, but can you modify behavior with enough motivation? Absolutely. And I'm going to tell everyone out there in the fitness world that, if you want to make a change and you want to make more money, and if you want to grow and you want to be successful, the number one trait you got to have is you got to engage. You got to learn to inspire, and you got to learn to get people off the dime and get them active and get them to believe in what you're saying.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think I'm reading a book right now by a guy named Michael Port, a former actor, and he wrote a book called Steal the Show. And what he talks about is there's ways, you have different roles in your life, and sometimes you're kind of playing a role, but you can still be authentic to who you are in that role. You're not always going to be out there yelling, come on, and trying to motivate people. That's okay. But you can be authentic in a role, and you're right. You can change that behavior.
I think that's a key word, being authentic and being who you are, and not fabricating, motivation, but coming truly from who you are. And like you said, that's not always yelling and firing, getting people. It's taking somebody out for a cup of coffee and getting deep with them, and getting uncomfortable a little bit, and asking them to tell them what's going on in their life and what's important to them, and identifying if is this the right place for you to work, and why not? Is it or isn't it? And let's get to your goals, and having those conversations. I mean, successful business relationships are personal relationships that become monetized. I mean, you can't have a successful, long-term successful business relationship, in my opinion, in this industry, if there's not a personal connection to it.
Absolutely. Well, you talk about goals. Let's go down that road. Do you have any formal process for setting goals? Do you write them down? Do you review them?
Absolutely. I mean, every year, at the end of the year, you evaluate your personal goals, what you want to do in terms of, family goals, and amount of time you want to spend with your family, and just, things you want to do with your family. That's priority, right? I mean, that's, you want to make sure you get those experiences in. And my again, going back to, being successful, my dad, right? I mean, it's all about the experiences you create, right? It's, like last night, my son had this little entrepreneurial kind of event at his school. He's in 8th grade, and came up with this idea to teach people how to juggle. So he created this juggling kit, and I was going to make sure I was there, to see how he was engaging people in his little booth. He had a little 4-foot by 4-foot booth, like a little trade show in the school cafeteria and in the gymnasium. There was 100 booths, and I was more impressed with how he was engaging people at his booth at 13 years old, taught himself how to juggle to engage people to buy. He made about $180 selling these juggling kits. I'm more impressed with that than anything he's done athletically or academically. And, he's a solid athlete and a straight A student. The way he's engaged, and I wasn't going to miss that for the world. I wasn't expecting that from him. I didn't realize he had that sales ability, but that was priceless. So, the goals are to create as many or be around as many of those experiences as possible, within reason. I still got to ring the register and work, right? You still got to be at events. I travel a lot. I was in China last month speaking. I was gone. I'm, doing a lot of traveling. I'm not going to be at those events all the time, but when I'm home, I want to make sure I'm there. So those are goals. How many events do I want to be at? What does the sports calendar look like next year? How do I plan my calendar accordingly? What months am I out of town? It's really, goals are simply planning, right? It's just really being effective at the planning phase. Same thing with the business, right? How many facilities do we have? How many coaches online? What are we looking at? But more importantly than that, how many real success stories have we created, in our network of growing coaches and, stories that we can really share to inspire other people. So we track those things. We look at those things in terms of, the amount of coaches that we're really impacting and getting them to understand what it takes to be successful in this industry. So we pride ourselves in that area. And, you have your typical, financial goals that you look at every year and you track, but you got to have that roadmap. I'm a big believer in them.
Absolutely. Just let's expand that a little bit more. Somebody, especially like yourself, with so many franchises out there, so many athletes, so many speaking all over the world. How do you stay organized? Do you use a planner? Are you a digital guy? Do you write things down? How do you stay organized?
Yeah, I mean, obviously just Outlook, using all the tools in Outlook and managing the calendar and the schedule. I mean, my biggest, organizational skill is using my, notes section in Outlook. So whenever I have anything, meetings or appointments, everything gets bundled, in that notes section. And I always write in the location, see notes. So whether it be previous emails to that meeting, all the history I need to know. So it makes it really easy. Technology is definitely an accelerator in terms of staying organized, but that is where I live, in my Outlook calendar and in the notes section. So I use that as my to-dos, where I'll just create an appointment, my to-dos for that day, put it right in Outlook as an appointment, and in the notes section are all my to-dos. So I just manage through that simple tool.
Yeah, that's important thing for people to remember. We talked about saying no to opportunities before, but like sometimes now there's so many apps out there, there's so many things going on. I love that you just do it under one umbrella, under that Outlook. It's smart. Good stuff.
Yep. Yep.
Bill, with so much travel, with so much, you're like you said, you're still working out. We tell our athletes we got to recharge, we got to recover. How do you recharge on a daily, weekly, and yearly basis?
It's really, my recharge is when I'm decompressing with the family and spending time with the kids and just hanging out and whether it be going to their games or just chilling out playing chess with my son, doing things outside the box and watching a game with them. That's my biggest recharge. And it's interesting now, and when I'm not with them, I'm just chilling out. And believe it or not, I kind of recharge. It's kind of odd. Just watching Con Ed. I'm just watching different videos or education of people in the industry and kind of seeing what else other people are up to on my little iPad holder. That I kind of put my iPad and sit back and continue to do that. So it's interesting. That's where I get a lot of enjoyment. I really enjoy, just gaining more and more information because there's so much out there. There's so many different specialties out there. It's really interesting to see what other people are doing.
Yeah, and it just goes to show the passion that you have for this stuff. It's something that can kind of, and sometimes too, we want to make sure we're staying up to date with stuff, and we feel better. We feel a little bit more like we're okay with that. So good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I was going to add in that, it's kind of interesting. I mean, I don't play golf, right? I don't have any real hobbies. I mean, I just don't. But I do have a hobby, and it's actually the financial sector. So, I actually do have an undergraduate degree in finance, and one of the ways I recharge, I actually got my Series 7 in 66. So as a hobby, and I recharge, I read about financial investing and whatnot. I just think, I don't know, everything I do, I just tend to kind of do stuff to get myself better at something. So that's been a hobby I kind of took to the next level, I guess, getting licensed. I wanted to see what it was like to get licensed. I never had gotten licensed, but I wound up getting licensed a couple of years ago.
That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Bill, like I said before, you could see the relationships. We could see the importance of the family here. You've always had one eye on the family. You keep bringing them up. I love it. What, though, sacrifices do you feel like maybe you've made to kind of be successful?
Without a doubt, the level of travel and the time, it takes to just, do what I do and do what I've done. I've traveled a lot more when my kids were younger. Probably didn't spend as much time with them as I maybe could have. Now that I'm a little bit more established and a little older, I can get with them a little bit more, but still, I'm still doing a lot of traveling, still out at night at meetings and stuff. But listen, I don't think it's the amount of time you spend with your family, it's the quality time. So if you're with them or at the important things, even if it's a couple hours a week, it's powerful, and you make it powerful. And so I think, the big sacrifice was time, and you learn. But when you're not around that much and you're giving up some time, you learn when you have the time, you really make the most of it. And now, I have a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old, soon to be 16 and 14, a month away. And, they're at those ages where they're becoming young men, right? I got 2 boys. And it's really fun to see them grow. But I really see how, the technology bug in terms of the power of the cell phone and social media, managing that is really interesting. And, my kids know I'm strict with that stuff. And, we know when the phone's off and it's put away and it's shut down, and, we got rules and we abide by them, or if not, there's consequences. So, I think the sacrifice sometimes when I'm not around, some of those rules may slip a little bit, but they're back in check when I'm back in town. Sheriff's back in town. As my wife says, sheriff's back in town.
Remember when we were kids, they had that show, Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. Remember that?
Well, that's how it is. That's how it is in my house. So it's funny.
Nice. Bill, how do you push? I mean, it's not all fun and games, right? I mean, again, you have a huge company. How do you push through those times when you're like, oh man, I just want to go and sell all this stuff and just sit at home and maybe I'll get into the financial industry? How do you push through your worst times?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, everybody has tough times. I don't care who you are, what you do, how big you are. The environment of our capitalistic society and the internet and the opportunity that everyone has to start a business, it's definitely a competitive environment. Lots of opportunity, also lots of ways to slip up. So over the years, whether it be the 2008 meltdown, the economic crisis, the Great Recession as it was referred to, or it's the euphoria that we're seeing now in the stock market and how it's rising and people are kind of all excited, but the great big reset is coming, as they say, the big reset of the government debt and what's going to happen in the next 1 to 3 years. But not to get into that tangent, the challenge is if you have a solid product, you believe in what you do, and it's proven with the right strategy, and that's not too hard to figure out, to deliver a really great product with enthusiasm, with the right strategy, it's always going to work out in the end. You got to believe there's always a way to make it work out. There's always a way to go and negotiate an opportunity to make something work. As long as you're humble, you're honest, you're in it for the right reasons. If you're those three things, you're humble, honest, and you're in it for the right reasons, and you truly have a product or service that you truly want to help people, it's going to work out in the end. It always will. It always does. And if it doesn't work out in the end, it's not the end. It's not over.
Love it.
So, I mean, I've been around 25 years. I've seen guys lose businesses. I've seen guys, whatever it may be. And yeah, have people lost businesses, had to close down and do different things. Yeah, the fitness industry, it happens every single day. But you know what? If you need to move on and it's not working out, then you need to move on and sell or close, or somebody else has to come in and take that over. And, you might lose money on it, but then you got to go to something else. I mean, you got to understand there's a strategy. You just got to be open-minded. But here's the point I want to make, because, I've had calls from different people over the years, whether it be competitors or whatnot. Hey, we're not doing well. Can you take us over or whatever? Or would you want to, do the merge or whatever? I get calls all the time, but you got to be smart enough to see the signs on the wall before those things happen, because your financials are lagging indicators of your business. They're lagging. Your revenue this month is a lagging indicator on how you were performing 6 months ago. So your daily performance and customer experience is a leading indicator of what your numbers are going to be like 6 months from now. And you need to be tracking and managing daily engagement with customers and customer satisfaction. If you do that and you've got good scores, and if you're doing surveys and you're connected to your clientele and connected to your staff and you're charging them up and they're giving great service and you're getting great results, the lagging indicator, which is the financials, they're going to be stronger. Your leading indicator, your service, is gonna tell you that.
Love it. Absolutely. People should learn about that. Sometimes the lead, it's hard to, you can't quantify it all the time right away, but you're right. You got to understand those things. Good stuff. Bill, let's finish up. 3 non-fitness related books you feel like help everybody in their development.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many of them, but I'll give you my 3 no-brainers in terms of the most impactful one. Obviously, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I read that in college. Believe it or not, I was reading it, I was in the cold tub reading that book one day. I was probably 20 years old. And one of the other athletes came by, saw the title of it and said, How to Win Friends, Influence People. Dale Carnegie kind of looked at me and called me a loser. And I was like laughing about that. And I tell everybody that story because that was probably one of the most impactful books. And, Dale Carnegie, help enough people get what they want, you eventually get what you want. And that's what really implanted my whole free clinic idea. Go out and give free clinics, help people, help coaches. Very impactful book. 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, Patrick Lencioni. Just New York Times bestseller, groundbreaking. That was just a groundbreaking book. And, I would say, it's a tough one for the 3rd book because there's so many of them, business or personal development. It might be a toss-up between, some classics like Think and Grow Rich. I just got through The Power of Habit, which was really, really interesting. And then there's, Built to Last by Jim Collins. But I know that was 6, so I'll stop there.
Absolutely. Great recommendations. And just a great talk today, Bill. I really appreciate you coming on. You're somebody who really is one of the true authentic voices and one of the truly, and that's what I wanted to get on here, truly accessible people. Your talks have inspired so many in the fitness industry, and you've helped so many people. And it's been great to kind of go over your journey into being so successful. So we really appreciate you coming on and doing this.
My pleasure, Anthony. Happy to help out anybody out there that's willing to want to get helped.
All right, that's going to do it for episode 236 of the Strength Coach Podcast. Remember, you can try strengthcoach.com out 3 days, just $1. You'll have access to all the articles, videos, and programs, as well as the best forum on the net. It's the only place to have full access to Coach Boyle. He's on every day. To access that offer, go to strengthcoach.com. Click the Join Now button to get started on your trial. All right, special thanks to Chris Poirier and the folks over at Perform Better. Huge summer sale going on right now. 40% off so many of the great items. Sleds, dumbbells, kettlebells, so many of their best items. Don't forget Long Beach Summit, final summit next week, August 17th to the 19th. You can check everything out at performbetter.com for all their products and info on their educational seminars. Thanks to Coach Boyle and Bill Parisi for sharing their insights and philosophies into the world of strength and conditioning, performance enhancement, and success. Thanks to Adam Doughty and Josh Sucher and Train Heroic. Head over to trainheroic.com, start your free 14-day trial. Let them know Anthony sent you or the Strength Coach Podcast, and you'll save 10% off your first year of the Train Heroic Pro or Elite Edition. Thanks to Rachel Cosgrove for the Results Fitness University Business of Fitness segment. Check them out at resultsfitnessuniversity.com. Great Cook and Functional Movement. Check them out at functionalmovement.com. And my new sponsor, MariGold Bars, high quality protein, all the premium ingredients, grass-fed protein, gluten-free, organic ingredients, non-GMO, no preservatives, low sugar, taste amazing. MariGoldBars.com. Use the code StrengthCoach10. You get $10 off your first order. My name's Anthony Renner. Go to ContinueFit.com to sign up for the Success Series. More of the audio interviews like you heard today from Bill Parisi. 5 audio interviews on success in the fitness business. Thanks again, and I'll speak to you next time.